is actually kind of a big election. It's big. We're in a really tender moment in history. So I'm a student of history. I'm not a serious student of history, but I am a student of history. And I have to say that we're at a really tender moment right now. So just want to put that out there. Okay. So I'll say more about what I mean on Tuesday. Hey, so today's class, hey, is anybody coming on, by the way? Niche? Give me a sense of that, because I might have to do a hard recruitment. If not, or I'll just be prepared to talk on my own, which is fine. Like I can do that, but it'd be really nice. Dude, we have a couple people. All right, awesome, man. All right, before we bring them on, just get ready to bring them on. Hey, we have two people. We have two men. Can we get at least one woman, please? Por favor. It's like men. You know what I mean? It's a male thing. I like men. Men are nice. It's awesome, man. But it'd be really nice if we could have a woman, at least one. And yeah. And we have a kitten. So we have two men and a kitten. So that's awesome, man. All right. So look, today's class is, it'd be nice if we had a couple more people that hopped on. All right, y'all. Hey, I'm calling it, it's part 2 of Rising Expectations. And I forget what I called it last class, but this one is Rising Expectations, and I called it in Social Unrest. This is actually in Social Breakdown. And I really want to kind of give in a little bit, talk a little bit about some things that I'm seeing and some potentialities. And Elijah and Nick, I'm not going to actually bring you on until we see if anybody else hops on the screen, and then I'll just bring you on when I introduce you. So just keep watching for right now and enjoy. And Elijah, you can just keep petting your kitten.
He's all please. All
right. Make sure you bring him on the screen. All right, listen. So let me just show you a couple of things. I'm gonna do a quick presentation, and then we're gonna open it up. Jeff, go to the next slide. I showed you this last class, but I think I want to come back to it because this is the share of the growth in wealth accruing to all these different income groups, and this is from 1983. You'll see over at the top, 1983 to 2010. And, you can see that the 75% of all the wealth, there was a lot of wealth, my friends, that was generated in those years that went to the richest 5% of the population. And basically what we're seeing here is that with the rise of globalization, I'm gonna do this really fast. You got to trust me on it. And mostly I don't say trust me on things, because you got to go read stuff on your own. Like I have my shtick, you have your shtick, everybody has their shtick. But there are a few things that I want to just kind of lay out to you. And one is that the world system truly started to shift in the 1960s in a pretty significant way. And it shifted along with globalization. And the idea is that the more we started to the more goods that countries started to buy and sell between other countries, and the more countries started to move their production processes around the world, especially in search of inexpensive labor, the more just capital started to change radically. And so, this is the rise of China, right? It's like US, this is the, factories and manufacturing facilities and so on here in the United States start closing down in the US and start moving those jobs around to other nations. Europe started doing it. Wealthier nations all over the world started doing it, trying to find, even poor nations found less nations that were even poorer so that they could move those facilities around and find in search of really, really cheap labor. But what happened was you had to pay your labor less and less, but you're making so much more in profits. And so what's going on is these profits are, hang on, right here. The profits are going that are being generated, and instead of going down here to your labor, right, to your workforce, the profits are able to go into the hands of fewer and fewer people, the owners of production. I sound like a Marxist, by the way. That's how a Marxist talks. But this is the side of Marxism that is absolutely on point. And so this is what we've seen in my entire lifetime, and we're continuing to see it. And so, but what this means is that, go to the next slide. So here's a slide. This is the corporate tax cuts. Now, by the way, this is the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities, right? So if you ask Biden, our Democratic candidate, these are Trump's tax cuts, right? And this is an estimate to where the funds are going to go from these tax cuts. If you ask Biden said he has got this claim on his website. There's like 83% of the revenue generated from Trump's tax cuts go to the richest 1% of Americans. That just is a real hard sell. That sounds like something that somebody would say who's running for president for a different party. But this is actually much more accurate. And the tax cuts and these kinds of revenues they're always going to go to the wealthiest people. So just like I gave you last time, under the first 5 years of Obama, of all the new revenue that was generated, 95% went to the wealthiest 1%. This is the nature. The world has changed. The system has changed. People have different relationships to capital and to production. So this is Trump, right? So all these working class people who are saying like, yeah, we got to vote for Trump because he's going to give us tax cuts. Yeah, you're going to get your $150 or your $200 down here, right? The working class. But like, that's nothing compared to what these folks are getting. You know what I mean? So it's just like, but that's the nature of it. If Biden wins, it's going to be the same. I mean, not the same. It's different. It's not, but it's similar, right? It's similar under Obama. It's similar under Trump. It's similar under Biden. So you really kind of have to, because the system itself, the world has changed in a really serious way. I don't have time to go into it. I wish I did, but I don't. And just go study it on your own, y'all. Like, okay, go to the next slide. So y'all, I'm going to bring you on the screen in a few minutes. So here's this, like, just in the US, right? 53% of U.S. workers making under $12 an hour, which is almost like about 30% of the workforce, by the way, who receive public assistance and help from family members or friends. Dude, 53% of folks make it, and increasingly, this is it, y'all, right? Like this is where we're at. This is what we're struggling with. And so like, these are workers who, when I was a kid, these are workers who were working in places that were more likely to be unionized. They were more likely to make more money. They were making enough money that they could, buy a small house for their families. They could raise a couple kids. You could go on vacation. That's not the case anymore, because that money has gone in search of workers. Those jobs have gone in search of workers overseas in really poor areas. So if you're not one of those people, then it's not going to happen for you. Go to this next slide. Let me just show you, right? So imagine you're one of these workers, right? So you're like going like, okay, who do I vote for? Biden? Do I vote for Trump? What do I do? Because things are getting tougher. I see that they're getting tougher. So this is the US, right? If the territory of the United States, I showed you this earlier in the semester, I think, but if it was divided in the same way as all the wealth in the United States, right? So then the richest 1% would own this much of the US. The next 9% would own this much. So like the richest 10% would own that much of the US, everything above this line. Dudes, that is just like, this is a shift. This line, from when I was a kid, this line has just gotten lower and lower and lower and lower, meaning that wealth is going into the hands of smaller numbers of people. And then 30% is here. And look at 60% of the poorest 60% in the United States would control this much wealth, and the poorest 40% would control that much. And how many of these people are voting for Biden, and how many of them are voting for Trump, and how many of them have any idea, have ever looked at what the Obama tax cuts, the Bush tax cuts, the Trump tax cuts, what they're all about, and what's happening here? It's like they're not. They're just out doing whatever they do. Maybe a few, but most are not. And how many of them support unions, and how many think unions are all crooked, versus how many are actually supporting the policies and the people that are going to just keep lowering this line, lower and lower and lower and lower. I sound like a Marxist, right? I really do sound like a Marxist, but here's the deal. I'm truly actually embrace more than anything libertarian ideas, but libertarian ideas only work when there's actually truly a free market, not a market that is controlled by small numbers of people. So those of you who fancy yourself conservatives understand free market is really essential. Like workers have a right to organize against capital. That's a free market, right? Capital can go wherever it wants, but workers also got to be able to be free to organize. So anyway, let me go to the last piece here, and I just want to hear from a few of you. By the way, I'm having fun. This is fun for me. All right. So listen, man. So I want to show you this. This is kind of cool. It's actually not kind of cool. No, it is cool. So there's a correlation. The higher the SAT, the higher somebody's family income, right? Student, all of you, the higher your family income, the higher you will do, the better you will do on SAT and ACT scores on average. There are outliers, there are exceptions, but lo and behold, look what happens. So this is family income between $0 and $20,000 in the United States. Here's the average SAT scores. And then here's the family income when you go to $20,000 and $40,000. And then watch, as family income goes up, down, look at how SAT scores, these are SAT scores, but it's same with ACT scores go up. And so we have this idea that, there is a marketplace of ideas, right? There is a marketplace of opportunity in the United States. Anybody, those of you on the screen, those of you in class, anybody, you can, come up with the money, you can go to Penn State, you can study really hard, you go to a different school, wherever you go, maybe you go to a community college, maybe you do whatever, but if you're really smart and you're really savvy, like you can just work harder and pull yourself up by the boots, and if the straps break off, put new ones on, damn it, and pull yourself up by those and just keep working and working and working, and eventually, you could get there. The issue is this, right? For individuals, that's true. But look at this. Look at how SAT scores, just what's family income have to do with your ability to perform in an SAT, especially when SATs have been so important for entry into the best universities, meaning the richest people are going to benefit. So we find all these ways in which wealth gets reproduced over and over and over again, right? Anyway, this is really important. This is a setup for what we're going to talk about in class today, by the way. This is not the class. So can we kick your videos on and hop on the screen? What's up, y'all? How you doing, man? It looks like, let's start with Nick. So you're in State College, right? I think you were on before, right?
I am. I'm back in State College now.
Yeah, dude, awesome, man.
Were
you in an apartment?
Yeah, I'm in an apartment.
And then we have Elijah with your kitten. Let me see your kitten, dude. What's his name? Her name?
It's Tai Lung.
What is it?
Tai Lung. Have you ever seen Kung Fu Panda? He's the bad guy.
All right, the bad guy.
It looks like Snow Leopard, kind of. So that's the.
Dude, awesome, man. All right, Ariella. Wait, Elijah, you're in State College too, right? I think I remember you were on before. Ariella, how about you? Where are you? Ariella got frozen. So Shrav or Shrave?
Shrav.
Dude, where are you? You in San Francisco?
Wish. No, I'm in Lansdale.
Where you at?
Lansdale. It's like
Lansdale, PA.
45 minutes outside Philly. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been there, man. It's like the mushroom capital of the world, isn't it? Kind of near there, anyway.
I didn't know that.
Dude,
I don't think so.
You're near the mushroom capital of the world, my friend. All right, that's cool.
Okay.
So, are you at home?
Yeah.
All right, man. And wait, Ariel, are you back with us? No, you looks like you're frozen again, man. Maybe, I don't know. Hang on. I'll wait for you to unfreeze. Michael, how about you? Where are you at?
I'm on campus right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. And how is it?
It's crazy. It's not exactly what I thought it would be like, but it's pretty fun.
Uh-huh. All right, man. Hey, Ariel, how about you?
I'm in state college.
Yeah. All right. In-state college. You're not partying this weekend, right?
No.
All right, good. All right, man. Because we're having a hard time keep controlling students off. Hey, anybody, what do you think about what I said? Besides that I sound like a radical Marxist, but like, any thoughts? Any like whatabouts? Any what about this? What about that? Like, what do you think about what I just said?
I think
Anything at all?
In relation to the wealth distributed, kind of you mentioning like Trump and Biden, we also have to realize that unemployment has been the lowest for African Americans, Hispanics, for all people actually. Unemployment's the lowest it's ever been, or was before coronavirus. And then because of like one of the strongest economies ever, you have to think about, yes, it may be going to the top, but if you're invested in the stock market, 401k, your 401ks are going up. I think comes down to personal finances in a way. Absolutely, there's going to be a distribution between like super rich and super poor. Yeah. But you can if we can teach education on finances, I think that would change things.
All right. Okay.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
The distribution of wealth is skewed, and that definitely is a problem. But to redistribute the wealth, I can think of a lot of people who shouldn't have $1,000, let alone $10,000 or $100,000.
Why? Because they'll go out and buy kittens.
They'll blow it in a day. They don't know how to manage their money. They don't know how to keep track of stuff. I mean, there's a lot of people who they can't pay their rent right now because they just don't know. Right, they have the money. They just don't have the skill to actually save it.
Yeah, right. They have not spent money wisely. How about somebody else, man? How about
I feel like redistributing the wealth doesn't necessarily need to be just like giving it to people that aren't wealthy. It can also be like donating towards causes that will like keep people that are poor, that'll like keep them growing, I guess. Like, you don't want to necessarily assume that you're just giving them money. You can also like give money to people that are advocating for the lower class. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got you. Yep. Okay. How about anybody else?
I think that when it comes to wealth, it does like redistribution doesn't really do anything because, in my personal opinion, people create their own wealth, and like their wealth is based on what they contribute to society. But when it comes to like the lower percentage of people like that don't have a lot of wealth, I think the one thing that needs to be focused on is kind of building up generational wealth, which is really hard to do with a lot of like the political systems that we have in place right now. And until those systems are changed, we won't really see a change in generational wealth. Yeah.
Okay.
What political systems are you referring to though? Like, what specifically is stopping someone from going and working and getting that job and going and creating wealth for themselves and then passing it down? Because like my parents didn't have anything from either side, but they have now because they built for it. So like I have a better life than they had, but their parents didn't give them shit to have them be good.
Like I absolutely agree. Like my parents, like my mom grew up, she had bats living in her bedroom. Like she lived on like this old farmhouse without heat. But like the main systems I see right now, like I'm opposed to the system of welfare we are on right now. I think it kind of discourages people from being able to get a job. I would more.
Wait, do you mean the system of welfare or wealth fare?
Like unemployment. Like I think we should switch from unemployment to like a more like a UBI type system that would enable people to still be able to work while receiving those payments.
All right, so listen, man, let me just throw something out to you all, right? You understand that what I was saying from what started in the 60s was a radical radistribution of wealth that happened in this country. Okay? It happened all over the world, actually. And it was a radical redistribution of wealth that was initiated by the really wealthy who managed to secure the power of politicians and gain control of global organizations like the World Bank and so on, to allow them to have a World Trade Organization, one after another, that gave them the opportunities to radically restructure tax laws and relationships, but the ways in which corporations and wealthy people are taxed, right? That allowed them to radically restructure that so they could hang on to a vastly greater amount of their wealth, and allow them to take that money and spend it all over the world without paying taxes back at home. So you realize that if we talk about redistributing wealth now, that's been going on in a radical way for 60 years.
Look at Trump himself. He paid $750 in taxes, and obviously the top has set up the system so they benefit from it the most. Yeah. So we need to almost bring in outsiders that aren't in that top 1% to change those laws, so that way everyone can benefit equally from them.
Well, so this is the thing, right? So this is where you have to not. So someone just made the comment about welfare, right? But dudes, the amount of money that we spend on welfare for poor people. This is me as a libertarian actually arguing this, right? The amount of money we spend on welfare for poor people is tiny compared to the amount of money we spend on welfare for rich people, like bailing rich people out and so on, right? But we have. So Elijah, my question to you would be, how often have you studied the profound ways in which wealthy people and corporations get these massive tax breaks from taxpayers that poor people don't get, and how they get that, and how much it is compared to the amount of money that poor people get in food stamps or housing vouchers and so on. Have you ever studied that?
2011 was it 2011, 2012 when the auto industry went under, the American auto industry. And we bailed that out. And that was billions of dollars, gone.
Dude, the banks in 2008, my friend, the banks who got fabulously wealthy, all the bankers who were the crooks and all of that, by the way, were part of the Obama administration working. And so it's like bailing all of them out. Hey, Shrav, what do you think about that? How often have you ever thought about the welfare for corporations and massively, like Amazon, dudes? Do you study how much money Amazon pays in taxes? Talk about welfare, right? How about that? Go right there. Go ahead, man. Shrav, do you ever think about that?
Honestly, I don't even think about it at all in my daily life. It just doesn't. And that's kind of the point, is that we don't think about this stuff. It just happens, and it just goes right by. And I think there's only so much that we can even understand without even learning these laws. It's so complex. It's a system that's so organized in a way that you have to learn about it extensively to be able to suggest any changes. I'm just listening to you talk about it, and I don't even know what you're talking about. But I do know that it's not it's not right, because so many people are getting left behind as this country moves forward.
Well, I'm not saying, and I'm not even saying it's right or wrong, right? For me, the only thing that I have is I can make a really good persuasive argument for tax breaks for the rich, corporations, and lower the corporate tax rate, lower the tax rate of the wealthiest 1%. I can make the argument about creating jobs and this, that, and the other thing. I can make that argument, but the question then would be, but can I also make the opposite argument, right? Because we're only fed the one argument, but can we make the opposite argument? And we're not fed that one. And so I'm just damn, okay, well, so for me, it's just about balance it out. You know what I mean? I listened to this knucklehead Biden talk about all the things he's going to do. Dude, I don't know where you're going to get all the money. And I listen to Trump. Knucklehead isn't even a word for Trump. You know what I mean? Oh, wait, but Trump actually fixed the pandemic. I read the Trump part of his platform is that he fixed the pandemic, right? He solved the pandemic problem for us. I'm oh my God. All right. So we got to get Biden in there, let him have a chance to start it up again. I don't know. All right. But listen, man, here, y'all. So now I'm going to talk, And I'm going to talk about white people for a second. So I want to bring you, so you can, stay on the screens. And Ariel, since you're going to keep your camera off, just make sure that when you want to talk, we know you want to talk. All right. You just speak up, but you guys just listen to me. I'm going to do another quick presentation, and I want to hear, I want to walk into the minds of a particular group of people. And this is the social breakdown, people. So everybody, so hang on. So follow me, right? We're going to walk through this thing. So let me show you this graph. This is the key graph. You want to understand race relations in the United States. This is the graph where you want to start. So the fading American dream, percent of children earning more than their parents by year of birth. So Elijah, right? You're saying like, hey, my parents, they came from very little. I'm going to make more than them. That's true for me. But look, my family has actually been around on both sides for a long time. And we're still working class, but I managed to go out to be beyond that. Okay, so listen, 1940, right? That about 91 to 92% of children were expected to earn more than their parents in their life. If they were born in 1940, those children born in 1940, over 90% were going to earn more than their parents. And then watch, it kind of levels out around 90, and then we're back here, and then it starts to drop. Right after the war, starts dropping. We're down to 70. Look at now, suddenly we're down to 60. My year of birth, looks like it's about 62. So I was born in 1960, right? So right here. And then look at it drop, and it keeps dropping. Oh, go up a little bit. Oh, we go drop. We drop. And then people born in 1985, it's below 50%. First born in 1980 goes up a little bit. Now we're at, and now it continues on downward. So it's actually continues downward here, right? The trend, the fewer, it's now at like 44% of everybody born in your age bracket, born in the year that you all were born, which is, I don't know when that was, but I'm assuming it's sometime around the year 2000. About 44%, 43% are expected to earn more than your parents. So that's going to just keep going down, right? You go over 90% to half of that. Dude, that's huge. Right. That is huge, because when you have kids, just like Elijah's parents, it's like maybe some of you, like you anticipate you want your children to be able to do better than you did. This is the nature of the United States. This is the American dream. This is part of it for white people, black people, brown people, immigrants, anybody. This is a dream everywhere in the world, but certainly is the dream in the United States. Right. So go there, and then couple with something else that started happening in the 1970s, in particular 80s, and increasingly, go to the next slide. We start seeing this rise of a multicultural world. And we start seeing all the images. We start talking about groups of people who are not white, right? So black people, Hispanic people, Asian people, Native American people, less so immigrants, right? And suddenly we see these kinds of images. So go back to the last slide. Imagine that you grew up, imagine that you're born in 1940. Go back to the last slide, Jeff, really fast, if you can. Imagine that you're back here, you grew up and you just watched. It's less and less likely that your kids are going to be able to do better than you did. It's going down. And then when you get about down here and go to the next slide and go back to that. And then what you see is all this conversation about multiculturalism, about all these other groups. And you see more and more images with people who are not white, and everybody, and you're doing worse. And, all these tax breaks and the economy's doing better, and like, oh my God, it's great. But you're watching the union jobs go, the factory jobs that were unionized, they're all going south of the border. There are other jobs coming up. So you can work now at the Amazon facility, but you're not making what you used to make at the GM plant that closed down 10 years ago, where, you could, with overtime, you could average $40 an hour. You're not making that now. You're not going to buy the house that your father bought back in 1980, 1970, 1965, you're never going to buy that house. It's never going to happen. And so like, whoa, you're watching along with the fading American dream is this rise of this multicultural dream in the United States. It's like, damn, I'm just seeing image after image of people. If I'm a white person, I'm seeing image after image of people who seem to be doing really well, because I'm not, and my community is not, and I'm not really aware of the black and brown communities as much as I should be. I have black and brown friends, but they're not doing really well. But I certainly know what my family did and didn't do. And like, damn, man. And then I'm hearing more and more about all these programs, all the racism and ethnocentrism and discrimination, and the government has to step in and should step in because, these kids are going to be discriminated against. But no one's talking about my kids, right? Who are doing worse and worse and worse every single year. So go to the next slide. So here, I want to give you this, right? So I'm going to walk you through what would sound like a real narrow-minded vision. So you all, right? A narrow mind. Hang on, I'm going to stand in front of this because I don't want you to see it. Just leave it on the screen now. Okay, take it off. So I'm going to walk you through what's going to sound like really narrow-minded people who are not interested in expanding their minds around globalization and so on and so forth, right? But I got to do a walkthrough experiment first, because the world's changing. The world is getting more and more multicultural, and probably most white people would be first off, most people are comfortable with that. And most white people are mostly comfortable with it, but they have their reservations. And they have their reservations because their lives aren't improving tremendously at the way that they anticipated that they would. And so now you go like, is the cause of that is it all these other people? Like, what's the cause of that? And because just like Michael or Shrav, I think you said, you never think about policies that impact rich people and corporations up here. And so therefore it's like, you only can look around at what you see. It's like, all I see are these government programs that are meant to help black and brown people who, like, we're talking about all the time. Black Lives Matter. What about white lives matter? Like, what about like when I mean, it's like, no, what about white people what about just people who look like me who've gotten screwed, right? And I don't understand it. It makes no sense to me, but like, what about that? I don't understand it. Nobody else understands it. All I hear is this message about all these other groups, okay? So now, imagine this. Go to the next slide. Imagine, so you think like, yeah, so those people aren't really that open to the change, right? Well, none of us are. None of us are really that open to a radical change in the world. Imagine that the 21st century is the century of China. And at the end of the century, like, English is no longer the main language of the world. It's Mandarin. And, your kids, your grandkids are learning Mandarin. That's what's taught in the schools. They you travel around the world, Mandarin is the dominant language. You go to the airport in, Bosnia, and like the airport clerk, they don't know English. They know Mandarin. It's like everybody. It's about Mandarin, everything. It's spoken all over the world. And then go to the next slide. Like, so you see, like, this is Times Square instead of, this is what Times Square looks like today. But Times Square looks like this. Go to the next one. It's like, oh, what's this? All this Chinese lettering. Yeah, because Chinese is the language of the world. Y'all, like, look at the next one. Like, this is Times Square. And like, doesn't matter. Who cares? It's like the 21st century is the century of China. It's not the century of the United States. It's the century of China. And your grandkids, this is what will happen to your grandkids. So my question to you is, are you okay with that? Is that cool? Like, are you like, yeah, whatever. I'm multicultural. I'm global. Life is good. Doesn't really matter. Chinese move in. They kind of start running the show. It's fine. Like, it's all good because, I embrace the world. It's all, no, we hang on to our traditions. We hang on to what we know and what we see. Most of us are not entirely comfortable with that. And so we're going to try to hang on in some way, right? So here, we're going to hold a certain kind of traditional values. And okay, so here, go to this, right? Here's traditional values, right? Emphasize the importance of the following: religion, parent-child ties, deference to authority, strong family ties, national pride, right? And all of these things, including national pride, it's like most everybody has we all have some semblance of traditional values. Everybody has that. So like there's nobody in the United States, even Chinese in the United States, would not be comfortable walking, knowing that in 80 years, the whole world in the United States, everybody's speaking Mandarin because it's just the language, and Times Square and this and that and the other thing. It's like even Chinese Americans wouldn't be fully comfortable with that. It's like this is tradition. Most people who tend to vote Republicans tend to lean on traditional values. And that's the thing. That's what really demarcates. I'm drawn because historically speaking, Republican ideals are traditional ideals. It's about religion, parent and children, really important, right? The relationship between parents, deference to authority. And authority is really important. And strong family ties, national pride, right? So when you think about Republicans, think it's people who tend to emphasize tradition. Nothing wrong. Makes sense. We're all traditional in our own ways. These are just some people who are much more traditional. Go to the next one. However, secular personal values, it's de-emphasizing all of those things, right? De-emphasizing. So if you go, but this would be people who lean more democratic. So it's not about religion. It's like, yeah, religion's okay, but it's a kind of a liberal religion. It's not traditional religion. Right. And so if it is a liberal religion, it's like, remember when I talked about Latin America and I talked about liberation theology? It's about let's reinterpret the gospels of Christianity according to this new way of seeing Jesus Christ as a liberating figure. And that's not traditional. That's a radical new way of seeing the world. That's a very liberal way. It's a very radical way. So, but science, secularism, right? Parent-child ties are important, but it's also really in school. The teacher should have a lot of authority because this is really important. And other folks, other institutions step in to raise children. Deference to authority, no, question authority, right? Deference is okay, but also question a little bit, but question. Strong family ties, yeah, strong family ties is good, but there are lots of other ties that are important. Community ties, right? And like national pride, it's like, yeah, okay, but you also got to look at all the stuff that your country does, right? And so these would be people that would lean a little bit more toward what would classically be seen as more of a democratic side. It's not that bifurcated. It's not that clear, but you lean more this way or you lean more this way, okay? Now, so here, now that I just said that, now, and you got this, like y'all, like hang on. My camera in here, the one that you all see, keeps going off. So I want to talk to you all that are on the screen really fast, the volunteers. So listen, so you get this, right? All of us have a certain amount of tradition in us. So are we cool with that? I didn't open it up to be like, yeah, but like I have tradition. Even like I'm a guy, like I have an American passport, but dude's like I travel nonstop. I'm at home in countries all over the world, right? Like I'm really cool. It doesn't matter. Like when things change, we speak Mandarin in 80 years. I don't really care. I don't have kids anyway, so it won't matter. But even if we do, like, awesome. Mandarin's an awesome language. I love it. So like, all right, so Americans are speaking it in 80 years. Who cares? That's cool. Like, we don't English. We speak English. We don't even speak the Queen's English. We speak our Americanized version of English. We're not even speaking English, for crying out loud. You know what I mean? It's this Americanized, bastardized version of it. So like, yeah, let's get rid of that finally and do something else. So I'm like really cool with that. And yet, dudes, I'm all about tradition, man. Like I dig tradition. Like it's really cool, right? Like it's like, yeah, I really need certain things to be. Okay, so here, let me show you this. Having said that, half of so this is this guy, Bartels, did this study of Republican voters. Half of Republican voters agree, and this is a really good study, by the way. I like carefully read through it, and I'm like, yeah, this is good. I'm gonna stick with it. The traditional American life is disappearing so fast that we may have to use force to save it. Half of all Republican voters were like, yeah, tradition, we're losing all the traditions. Everything is changing. It's just this radical transformation of this world that I don't even recognize anymore. That maybe we're going to have to draw on force. Maybe, I don't know, we're going to have to save it somehow. But dudes, that is serious, right? And by the way, those are going to be the voters, not the ones on top making the 1%, the rich 1%. And by the way, my friends, not all Republicans, you think Republican, party of the rich, bullshit, right? These aren't the wealthy Republicans. These are people at the lower end who are more going to think this. And go to the next one. 40% of Republican voters agree that a time will come when patriotic Americans will have to take the law into their own hands because they no longer trust anything. They don't trust the legal system. They don't trust the police. They don't trust the courts. They don't trust the judges. And by the way, Trump was hugely responsible for pushing this forward in a way. So growing, I can guarantee that at the beginning of the Trump administration, that was not 40%. There's no way. Just came and just created this QAnon. Jeff, well, I can't talk about QAnon because Jeff, by the way, is actually QAnon. Dude, was I allowed to say that? Can I say that? I thought you were QAnon.
What?
Oh.
Are you effing out of your mind?
See, this is you just playing off now, right? So you're playing it off that you're really not QAnon. Okay, I got it. Oh, wait, I'm QAnon. All right,
QAnon, man.
I'm just trying to get your inbox flooded, my friend.
Oh, my God. Thanks for that.
All right. So listen, man, all this crazy stuff, right? So 40%, time will come when patriotic Americans have to take the law into their own hands. Okay? Dudes, seriously, like, whoa. Okay, this is big, right? This is big. So go to the next one, right? Now we ask, 52% of all white people in the United States think that they experience more discrimination than black and brown people. 52% of white people in the United States. Dudes, 52%. 76% of Tea Party supporters. So, we don't have the Tea Party anymore. This actually goes back a few years. But 61% of Republicans, 58% of working class Americans, right? Working class, going down, losing power, losing their purchasing power. 38% of Democrats, but 39% of people with a college degree. Dudes, feel like they're discriminated against more than people of color. So you got this huge multicultural movement that's growing. You got everything else is sinking. People are going like, what are we going to do? We're losing the country. We're losing everything. Oh my God, here we go. Final thing I want to put out there. This last thing. So these are people, right? The people who feel like we're gonna have to pick up arms. We're gonna have to do something. We might have to have some kind of revolution. Something's gonna have to happen because it's gonna come to violence at some level. It's probably gonna be that way. They're also more likely to believe this. Okay, next one. They're also more likely to believe that things have changed so much that I often feel like a stranger in my own country. It's all correlated with this. What do you think changed? What's the stranger in your own country, right? Next one. Immigrants get more than their fair share of government resources, more likely to see this, right? And they don't know. They don't know any more than Shrav knows about, tax breaks for the corporate wealthy. And then the last one, people on welfare often have it better than those who work. So they're also more likely to believe those things. Okay? So now,
Sam, people are asking for a source. Can you put this back up? For this.
So you want to know what it says?
Where the source is from. I saw there were a couple of articles. One of them said 55% of all white people.
Nah, you know what? I'll put the source up, by the way. I wrote something on this. I'll get the source on this. But yeah, this was a study that people did. This was actually about 7 years ago. So that number has changed. I'm sure the number is actually higher right now. So, all right. So listen, by the way, just know that I'm always really careful about numbers, man. Always really careful. Okay. So can you all come back on the screen?
Mm-hmm.
All right, man. So listen, y'all, right? You got a segment of this population who also happens to, and all the Republicans, they're not just white people, right? Let me emphasize that in California, back 10 years ago, there was a proposition to really clamp down on undocumented immigration. And the group of people, undocumented immigration, which was mostly Latinos coming up from Mexico and Central America, the group of people that was most likely to vote for that proposition to empower police to clamp down on immigration, the group of people most likely were Hispanics who got in the door. They got in, they got their citizenship, they did whatever, and then they want to close the door for anybody who's coming illegally. So it's not about, the Republican Party is not just about white people, y'all. It's about people that feel a sense of tradition. I remember after 9/11, we were having dialogues, and I kid you not, it was in the dialogues in the weeks after 9/11. So this is the World Trade Towers, right? It was, strangely enough, Black African-American students were the students most vociferously supporting the fact that we need to profile Arabs and Muslims to ensure that this never happens again. And we're just like, what? Wait, white students were like more likely to be like, nah, man, we still can't profile. Like, that's not fair. That's not good. And Black students were like, no, fuck that. No. We need to stop this. And I'm like, damn. So you got this whole tradition thing going on here, right? What do you think about that? People losing their economic livelihood are also taking on this other idea. Like, we're lost the country.
I don't really feel that opposed to losing parts of our tradition, because I feel like a lot of our tradition is rooted in hate, and a lot of our tradition is rooted in putting other people down. And it just, honestly, when I hear the word tradition in America, I don't feel any kind of pride. I don't feel any kind of happiness. Like, when I think of tradition with like national pride, the immediate first thing that comes to mind is the Confederate flag, because that's like the number one thing that people say when they hold it up. They're like, I just have national pride. Like, I have pride in my like side of the country. And it's just, it sounds stupid to me. And I don't feel any type of way towards the people that are like, we're losing our traditions.
Well, hang on a second though, right? But let me just push back on that a little bit. But tradition is also blue and white game, or the whiteout game. Tradition is also Penn State football. Tradition is also...
I thought we were talking about American tradition.
No, hang on. No, but I'm just going with all traditions. So like, go with American tradition is also the, Christmas dinners and Thanksgiving and fireworks on the 4th of July, right? Mm-hmm. These kinds of things, right? Tradition is lots and lots of tradition is like, picnics on the beach in the summertime. I don't know. Mm-hmm. There are lots and lots of traditions. So like when we talk about people feeling like we're losing everything, they're looking at this whole sense of what is, wearing baseball caps or something, wearing them backwards in Nick's case, right?
The way I see it, I would gladly get rid of all traditions if it meant getting rid of the traditions that hold people down. But
okay, I got you. Okay. Right. And see, this is the thing, right? So a lot of people on the left, when people start talking about we're losing our traditions, they immediately start thinking about slavery and genocide and the Confederate flag and so on and so forth. People who are who would more embrace more of a, like, say, the Republican Party aren't saying like, hey, we need to go back to slavery. We need to go back to genocide. We need to take all these other Native Americans and make sure they go back into reservations and so on. No, what they're talking about are things like, a sense that when I go to school, when my kid goes to school, they can stand up and say the Pledge of Allegiance and say under God, but some school board somewhere has now decided you can't say under God. And it's like, what? Come on, man, just say under God. It's like, why can't you say that? Why can't I say I pledge allegiance to the flag in the United States? You know, that, why can't you say that? So they're thinking about all those things. They're not thinking about, I want to put my boot on the necks of people. But I hear you. And thanks for saying that, Ariel, because that is a sticking point. Yeah. Does that make sense, by the way?
Yeah.
Like that, yeah. I really like what you said.
Right. I know what you mean. I definitely understand like people wanting to be able to express their religion and people wanting to be able to express their pride. At the same time, I just feel like when the people that want to express these things are also the people that are holding others down, we don't want them to get their way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got you. Or like when you say, well, tradition is that our high school is called the name of a Native American tribe, the Mohawks. Can we just use that? Like, come on. It's like, nah, dude, we can't. But you start losing all of those pieces one after another. And, you know, you're not a bad person. You're a good person. Just like all you liberals out there who eat meat and you eat factory farm meat. And if you ever went to the factory farms where your meat came from, my friends, you would stop eating meat. Because Elijah, hold your kitten up again. Is she right there? Because the animals that are being absolutely brutalized, there's every bit as cute as that kitten. And you just went, and yet you can think like, oh, but I'm such a good person and I support all that. But you eat animals that have been just tortured and maimed. And like, what kind of a good person are you? Fuck. Like, really? Anyway. All right. Hey, somebody else, man. What do you think about the fact that, what do you think about it?
It's wild. This whole thing has been wild because it reminds me of Borat 2 when they were at the rally. If I was a white guy in the crowd, I would be so riled up right now. I'd be ready to go kidnap the governor of Michigan. Like, the stuff you're saying it's so understandable to see why these like white people can get so upset and angry. Like, it's such a compelling narrative that our country is being taken away from us. And I look at it more so like there's a structural issue in employment. Like, when you take jobs away from coal miners, it's not like they hate the earth. They just don't have any way to feed their kids if you take that job away. Yeah. So it's like, how do you replace that with skills? How do you give them the ability to provide for themselves and keep up with our movement as a country? And I think that's like a point that we got to talk about more.
Dude, yeah. Yeah, we elect Joe Biden. He's going to fix the problem for us. Dude, somebody else, man. Yeah, somebody else. What do you think? Like, Shrav just said something really powerful, man. If you're a poor white person and or working class white person or someone, you know, whose like life has kind of got slipped away, you're listening to this, you're like, damn, you'd be really riled up taking governors hostage or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I think you can definitely separate like American traditions from like racism and like systems of oppression, because tradition is so much more than just like all those like negative systems that were mentioned are like power systems, and there's so much more to tradition than just those typical power systems. And to want to defend even defending both of those, I can see why someone would, because obviously like if you're in power, you want to keep yourself in power, and you can kind of scope get that onto keeping the American tradition. I think it's possible to keep the tradition while eliminating those systems of power.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, very cool. Yeah, somebody else, man.
I was gonna say, I think if you truly empathize with the white people and why that those numbers that you shared about 50% or 60% feel they're discriminated against, if you look at some of these big companies and big corporations, they have programs for blacks, for women, for Hispanics. Mm-hmm. They don't really they don't have a group for white people. It's more promoting diversity. And you see the same thing when you're going for employment. You have to check a box, what race are you? You have to, when you apply for schools, you have to do the same thing. And often people with, they can be favored more towards diversity. So I think you can empathize with why white people are feeling those.
Right. And so the issue is that when you don't stand a chance of doing better than your parents, nor do any of your friends or your cousins or anybody in your neighborhood. And you don't understand what's going on up at the top with the tax cuts and breaks and offshore deployments of capital here and there. All you do is look around you, and around you, you just see all these programs that are now uplifting Black and brown people. And like, whoa, hang on a second. Like, wait, you forgot about these people over here, right? And so including working class Black and brown people who are seeing all these programs from which they're not going to benefit, because, by the way, most employment programs that are related to affirmative action or like, checking off a box, they're going to help people who are middle class and above. So if you're working class or poor and you're Black or brown or white, you're much less likely to benefit from any of those, right? So it's like, okay, like scholarships at Penn State. Those of you, the students at Penn State who are Black, students in Penn State who are brown, who get scholarships to Penn State, forget about white students also, but the vast majority, you come from money. I ask you, you're like, okay, you have a full ride to Penn State. Oh yeah, what are your parents there? Oh, my dad's a lawyer. My mom works in a bank. I'm like, oh really? It's not like, yeah, my dad's a trash collector. He's a refuge collector. And my mom, well, she's disabled. And like, and I got a full ride to Penn State. Isn't that really amazing? I'm the first one in my whole family to go to college. Isn't that amazing? I got 4. No, you're more likely to be like, my dad's a lawyer. My mom owns her own business. She's vice president of a bank. Yeah, she's the first, Jamaican vice president of a bank in Philly or whatever. Like, and what did her parents do? Oh, well, her father was a professor. It's like that. Money leads to money. So like so we're going to see this. It's the same kind of thing. Dude, Elijah, what do you have a thought on that? Do you have a thought on anything?
So
go ahead.
I definitely would not have gotten into Penn State, like main campus, my freshman year had I not checked Black on my application. 100%. Like, I didn't do crazy well in high school. I didn't really try. Like, it wasn't a thing that I should have gotten in. And like the amount of people who I know who I went to high school with, who are white, who didn't get in, it adds up.
Yeah, but listen, dude, do they have kittens in their apartments?
I didn't have the kitten then.
Dude, but they don't now probably either. So Penn State knew something about you, my friend. They were like all about it. Well, but hang on, by the way, so this goes out to the class. I know the chat, you're all going crazy now. As someone who's actually has been involved in admissions and so on, it is actually pretty complex. So Elijah, you might say like, I definitely wouldn't have gotten in. That's actually, I can tell you that being Black or being brown is one piece of things. There are lots of other things they're looking at. So trust me, it's not just that. So you can go on thinking that, but there are other matters. Okay, listen, let me just show you guys something. And then I want to do this. I'm going to do this in 5 minutes and then I'm going to bring it back. So take a look at these guys, right? These guys are the Boogaloo Boys, man. These are the folks so I think they're on the steps of the governor's building in Michigan. Look at the Trump Pence sign. These are the white guys whose parents used to have union jobs in the factories in Michigan. And these guys, a couple of them have union jobs, but the vast majority don't. And this guy's working at Amazon and this guy works in a gas station and this guy, almost got a union job working somewhere in a mill, but he doesn't anymore. And this guy this and this guy that, right? So these are the guys. And they're loading up, man. And they're thinking like, we're going to have to do something. We're going to have to take this country back and we're going to show up with our guns. And I'm like, holy shit. Seriously, guys, this is it. And we got a lot of guns in this country. And you got dudes like this that have their vision of what's going on. And they're actually going like, so this is Schwab. I'm going to what you just said. It's like, wow, I'd be really angry. Yeah. And a lot of these dudes are. And like, dudes, what are you showing up to do? To protect what? Like, what is it that you want? You just want to show up with your guns somewhere, right? Like, damn. And then look at this. So, and some of these guys, some of these militia groups are really organized. Really organized. This is like a paramilitary unit. These are private citizens who have organized into a single militia, and they're training. Dude, they're training for the revolution. It's like, holy shit. And by the way, Trump people, your guy is fueling the flames of this stuff, right? These guys, it's like they're the world that they want to live in is not the world that they're seeing, and your guy is fueling the flames and fueling the anger. And it's like, is this really what you want? So here's another one. I want to show you. This is kind of fascinating. There are these secret tapes they just showed that, by the way, this is MSNBC. I almost never take anything off MSNBC, but I like this image, so I grabbed it off here. But this is actually from the BBC. But these secret tapes show this neo-Nazi group called the Base, recruiting former members of the military. If you go back this couple slides, Jeff, all these guys, many, probably half of them at least, have been in the military. Did they know how to use those weapons? Like, they got it. And you got these militia groups that are just emerging left and right all over. And some of them support Trump. Others of them don't support Trump. So even though he's like really whipping up the frenzy, but a lot of these guys don't. Some of these guys showed up at Black Lives Matter rallies to defend people who are protesting to defend anybody protesting against the police at the Black Lives Matter rally. These dudes are showing up with their guns. And then others of these guys are showing up to protest against the Black Lives Matter people. Their ideology is like all over the place. They're like, it's like these guys they all think different things, and they all don't support Trump. That's a guarantee, by the way. So anyway, next one. So here's the Al Qaeda. No, hang on. Go back. So these secret tapes show this neo-Nazi group, the Base. That's what they call themselves. So go to the next slide. So Osama bin Laden started Al Qaeda around about 1988. And there, of course, it's this network of radical Islamic fundamentalists who were responsible for 9/11 attacks, right? Al Qaeda means in Arabic, the base. So you have the neo-Nazi group calling themselves the Base. Al Qaeda means the base. So just the irony of this insanity. But here's the thing that I really want to show you. So go to the next slide. You know what do any of you know what this stands for? Anybody know? Anybody who knows, put it in the chat if you know, right? Anyone want to take a guess? It stands for Not Fucking Around Coalition. And these are black and brown militia members, most of whom, at least half of whom, I'm sure, probably more than half, have been in the military. And they're coming back and they're looking at what's going on and they're watching it and they're seeing that, hey, the police are doing their thing, are doing what they do and really attacking all Americans, especially black and brown Americans, as we see a youngish man was just killed in Philadelphia 2 days ago by the police. Could have found who was, having some kind of paranoid a break. And so these guys are going like, hey, you know what? We're not fucking around anymore. Go to the next slide, right? Look at that. Yeah, that dude right there, these guys, they're not fucking around anymore. So now, at what point do these guys meet with the other guys? And the other guys, they start fighting it out with each other about the issues when they mostly all agree on the same issues. They would agree if they could see what was really happening in the system, but they don't. And so like, whoa, dudes, this is big. This is really, really big. So come back on the screen. What do you guys think of that?
This is like a radicalization we see within our country, like on both sides, just going crazy. And I think that what you said, like in the beginning of class, was how we're in a pretty dangerous time, a pretty touchy time in history. It's true, because if you look at the economics of the U.S. too, the wealth gap's increasing, like you said, and also as a country, our innovation's slowing down, and we're not growing as much as we used to, and there's China as a competitor, it's a crazy time. And I think that there's a lot of all feeding into this is just fear. And then people just get
totally
angry.
Yep.
And
totally,
it's like, how do you solve that? Like it's something that's it's an idea that becomes an emotion. So how do you rectify that? How do you go to these communities and be like, yo, chill, like stop picking up guns. No one's invading us right now. Like, how do you do that? I don't know.
I feel like a lot of people don't feel heard in the situation. You know what I mean? Everyone has an opinion, but no one actually really wants to stop and listen to what the other person has to say. Mainly because the other person isn't going to agree.
Plus, Americans have been taught to like show their way with guns.
With guns, yeah. It's like, well, I mean, people have already shot other people, but it's just been a couple people here and there. Wait till the real firefights break out. Nick and Michael, what do you think? By the way, the answer is we all need to buy an airplane for Creflo Dollar and let him fly around the country and preach to us. So, but that's another story. Nick, and Michael, what do you think?
I think the country is it's very dualistic and polarizing at the moment. You have, if you're on the left, you're socialist or you're fascist, whatever. But if you're on the right, you're white supremacy. It doesn't seem like there's any middle ground. So like, I feel like that's very frustrating, honestly.
Yeah. And by the way, if you go back, Jeff, can you just go back to the group of guys on the steps? On this, yeah, so there are black and brown and Asian guys in these Boogaloo groups also, man. This is not just white guys. It's mostly white guys. But these guys, the Boogaloo ideology is like an overthrow of the United States. It's like, whoa, okay, hang on a minute. What United States are we overthrowing? Michael, what would you say?
I mean, earlier Shroff said that like we need to tell them like that we're not being invaded, but in a way, in their minds, we are being invaded by all these like different nationalities coming together, and we kind of need to, as a nation, see it from that point of view before we understand totally where they're coming from.
Yeah, it really sort of is an invasion, right? And again, listen, it's not like a justification here. I want to understand. Right. I really want to understand it's insanity. And what happens is the wealthy groups, the Republican, the big money earners, Democrats, whoever it is, they just keep playing people off of one another. So it's like, you just keep these guys thinking that the other side's bad. Ariel.
Divide and conquer.
Divide and conquer, my friend. Yeah. Ariel, do you have anything that you would throw in there?
I don't know. I mean, I'm just living to live and trying to stand up for the people that I love, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I know, right? And it's also standing up for it. Right now is actually a time when we also need to stand up for the entire country in a way, right? Like we actually might be closer to a precipice than we imagine. And some of the language that we use and the way we talk about it is like, hang on a second, man. Understand like what people are saying and what they're responding to so that we can try to build these bridges, man. All right. Final thought. Anybody?
Yeah. I just wanted to add, like, I think it's really easy to get caught up in this negative outlook. And
totally
area too, like it's got to be positive. Like life goes on, and we're all just part of this. And also to everyone watching and all that, like when you talk about like media and stuff, and we don't want to go down that rabbit hole. All I'm going to say is like you are what you eat, and you can control whether you're getting fat or not. So just remember that. Don't make that an easy excuse, because if you do, you divide more people. So just like have an open mind, and also like. Numbers tell a great story, but we're not hearing from those people directly, right? We're just hearing the stats and the trends. So keep that in mind.
Yep, exactly. And a lot of times when you hear of extreme ideas, it's often never as extreme as you imagine, right? It generally isn't. And understand where to look to address what the real big divides are. Hey, listen, you all. Thanks for participating today. Awesome. Really appreciate it. And let's try to spend. I'm going to follow what Shrav just said. Shrav, right?
Shrav.
Shrav.
Yeah.
I'm going to follow what Shrav said. I really like that. Just like, let's all keep it kind of toned down as much as possible, myself included. I try to remain as optimistic as I possibly can. And I'm generally pretty optimistic, man. I'm that person in my whole friend or intellectual group or whatever it is that I'm always seeing the bright side, the glass half full kind of thing. So I try to hold that. All right, y'all. We'll see you on Tuesday. Be safe, wear masks, and social distance a little bit this weekend, y'all. Come on, man. Seriously.
And if you go out to vote on Tuesday, especially if you're voting during class, that is not my camera. Especially if you're going out and voting in class and listening, and make sure you're actually listening. If not, then you'll fail the quiz, and it's your choice, I guess. Send us a picture. Hashtag Social19 on Twitter. I'd love to shout you guys out for voting, especially if you have a sticker or something.
Dude,
I don't care who you vote for. Just go out and vote.
I did vote, by the way. Here's I voted. No, hang on. There it is. You guys can see it. Yeah. My I voted tag. So, all right, we'll see you all. Lily and I will knock the quiz out real fast. Hey, thanks, man. Thanks, y'all. Appreciate it.